And welcome back to Meeting of the Minds. Today I'm here with the great Aaron Grossman, founder of Wrestlers in Business, and also the keynote presenter at this year's National Wrestling Coaches Convention. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to have a conversation with you today.
Absolutely. A continuation of our conversation that we've been doing for the past 20 minutes.
Exactly. It's been fun.
Absolutely. All right, so let's start with the National Coaches Convention this year. You were the keynote presenter. What did you speak about? How was the response? What did you think about everything?
Well, first of all, I was honored because I was speaker the year before, and so I was shocked the first time I was asked, and apparently from what Mike Moyer had mentioned, is that a lot of the coaches, appreciated the message and had actually asked for me to come back and do another one. So it was actually a little bit more frightening to do a second one because I wanted to make sure that I had something that could resonate. And so I really spent my conversation last week really focused on talking about the culture that I built within my core business called Talent Launch. And I created this redwood tree concept. I'm really passionate about culture. It's everything to me. It really has simplified my ability to kind of scale a business. And we have a goal of getting to $1 billion in revenue by 2028. So I really spent my time talking through how I thought about culture, how the redwood tree was formed. And then I spent time really talking about the components of our redwood tree and how wrestling really helped me find those core values or find those pillars that I believe are the special ingredients that we feed our core values with so that we can build our own redwood tree wherever it might be throughout the world. So that's really what I spent my time on. And I kind of had like some aha moments along the way of building that presentation. And I'm like, you know what, that really was from wrestling. That's really where that really came from. And that was really cool for me to find out as well as I went on that journey.
Absolutely. You kind of took my next question there. I was going to ask, how is your transition from wrestling to business? What are some of the lessons that you took with you and that you've applied successfully?
Yeah, I could go through that whole presentation again, but that would take an hour. But, the easy one that everybody talks about is, one, work ethic, right? You just work. I knew that, in wrestling, when I was wrestling in college, I knew the work I was putting in. I knew all the workouts that I would do morning, afternoon, at night. People were wondering, how are you doing your schoolwork? And the discipline you take in cutting weight, to make weight, that during that week while going to college classes, right? So knowing that I put myself into that place and getting through it has given me so much confidence throughout my career that I can outwork anybody. I can put myself into a very difficult place. I can grind. There is no ego in me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to where I want to go. And that's something that wrestling has taught me. One of the big core values that we have in my company is called entrepreneurship, but it's how we define it that is what is all about wrestling. It's simply taking responsibility for your outcomes. As you know, that's what wrestling is. It's about how much work are you willing to put in, and are you okay with getting your hand? Is that work good enough to get your hand raised when it's all said and done? And are you willing to accept that loss and learn from it, and know what happened as to why you didn't get your hand raised that match, and what are you going to do about it? At the end of the day, it's all about you. It's your experience, and are you going to take responsibility for those outcomes? So I learned that. One thing that I have been talking about to wrestlers, especially young wrestlers that are either in high school or in college still, is one of the transitional things that isn't as clearly defined, and we talked about this before we started recording, is just around communication. To me, one of the things that I thought through in my wrestling progression is that you could be a state champ in high school, you get into college, and suddenly it's a whole different world, and you're getting your butt kicked, and you've got to figure out how to take on that next step and become a national champ. And if you can become a national champ and you want to become an Olympian, well, to get it, start working that ladder, you might not be the best right out the gate. You might get your butt kicked for a little bit until you kind of figure out how to perform at a high level and really achieve that type of outcome. Well, to me, in business, it's the same thing. Like I believe that communication And my ability to kind of really focus in on my words is like practicing a single leg takedown or a double leg takedown 1,000 times over. Because at the end of the day, in order for me to be an Olympic champion or a national champion in business, I really have to figure out how do I fine tune my messaging? How do I fine tune my communication so I can create that space, or I can create an angle so that I can execute and get an outcome that most people can't achieve, that are doing the same thing that I'm doing. There are 20,000 employment agencies in the United States. I'm now the 150th largest out of those 20,000. I started with nothing, but I leveraged the principles that I learned from wrestling and was able to effectively transition them into my professional career. And the reality is it works. It actually works.
Absolutely. Like you said, there's just so many lessons in the sport of wrestling that we can and should be applying to our business and to our career. That's exactly what you guys do, wrestlers in business. That's exactly what we do, wrestling mindset. Like you said, the ownership, the taking responsibility, the humility, the coachability, resourcefulness, the willingness to work, and the repetitions over and over. That's so big. Can you talk about some of the biggest mistakes you see, maybe mentally, or the approach that maybe athletes make in their transition to business?
Well, I think in our sport, some of the things that I've seen is that people that they get so singularly focused into our sport, and they perform at such a high level, and it has always been something that has weighed on me. Is like, I can't believe they've created success in our sport in ways that I wasn't able to, but then they have a difficult time like transitioning out of the sport and really applying all of those things into whatever it is that they're trying to do. It's almost like a lack of confidence, from it. And so I think that to me is some of the issues that I've seen. Is just that lack of confidence of believing in everything that they've done actually can work at an incredibly high level with anything they want to do outside of the sport. And so I think that is the biggest, that's kind of big, the biggest error point is just not staying true to everything that got them to where they everything they've got to in our sport, and just keeping that exact same mindset in the next journey that they take outside of the sport.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's the hard work, but it's also taking that time to self-reflect, it seems like, and to actually do some thinking. What got me successful, and how do I apply this? I mean, of course, there's something to be said about grind, work hard. But a lot of people don't take that step back and say, what exactly am I doing? How can I do it better? How can I apply this to the next phase? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think, I think that, the other thing too is that in wrestling, a lot of people that have created a lot of success, it is, I think, sometimes a little bit of a challenge to get into another career and realizing you're not that person in this new opportunity, and that you are starting off back as almost like a kid again, right? But again, if you can apply just everything that you did to get to where you did, to the success you had in wrestling, and just do that follow those same principles in your career, you will end up achieving unbelievable success, because most humans have never put themselves into the situations and into that mind games, and really kind of learning yourself at the core of who you are. You get all of that from the sport. That's such a gift. And I wish all of us could transition that into whatever it is we do. I wish that happened more frequently.
Right. That's one of the big mental muscles that we always talk about. Confidence, the big C word. How do we become more confident? And I think a lot of times people, either they don't understand how to build it or what exactly to do. I mean, everyone knows we have to believe in ourselves. But when you speak to coaches or to leaders, we say, well, how do I believe in myself? And they say, well, just be confident. How do you be confident? Just believe in yourself. And it's kind of circular reasoning. No one actually tells you how to do it. It's like if someone says, I need stronger legs. They got to squat, they got to deadlift, they got to leg press, they got to do the thigh curls, the leg extensions, the step ups, and so on and so forth. The answers are very clear. But then when it's how do we build confidence, the exercises are not as readily accessible to people. So that's why it's so big. We get these people to be focusing on that, how to build their confidence, not just to talk about confidence.
Yeah, I mean, what I think about is you're just talking. I was thinking about my career when I got into staffing. I worked for a large international firm, and I remember my mindset. Like I was like, all right, I'm not gonna act like I know what I'm doing here. I'm going to, for at least for the first 6 months, I'm literally going to listen. And the way I thought about it from wrestling was like, I really need a coach. Like, and my coach is going to be my manager. My coach is going to be the people who are showing success that sit around me. And I'm just going to listen. And I'm going to follow that direction, because I know that when I was wrestling, they taught me a couple of basic things, and they made me do those things over and over and over again. So I'm like, okay, what are those things that are the thing like that? Like, what are the things that I got to do over and over again? And then I just kept doing that over and over and over again, knowing that it would take me, 6 months to a year before I started to get good at it, before I started getting comfortable in it. And then, because like once you get comfortable in it, just like you do those moves in a match, you can start to like play with it a little bit in a match, like try to figure out like, hey, what if I did this? Could I create this angle if I did it's the same thing? Like, so I said, eventually I'm going to get to that place in business where I can start to create my own little part of that move. And so that, and see how that slight pivot, does that become the essence of who I am and the success that I can create around that basic technique. So I literally have just applied that throughout my entire career of just like my own personal wrestling journey. What did I do at the different stages to get to where I ended up getting to in wrestling in college? Just doing it, just literally just taking it and positioning it into my career.
Right. And like you said, tweaking little things here and there, it makes me think of Penn State and their whole concept of play wrestling and how they change this, they try that, they make these little tweaks along the way, and then their competition's not able to keep up because they're thinking at such a high level. It's not just blind workouts. It's learning, it's being coachable, and then it's applying new techniques and trying things.
Exactly. And it's having the confidence to fail too. Like, one of the things, another gift that wrestling gave me was the being immersed in failure. Like, whether it's getting taken down and that the feeling you have when you get taken down, it sucks, right? Or if you're on bottom and someone scores back points on you, or if you get pinned, or if you lose a match, all of those things, in our sport, we have the gift of being able to actually feel what that feels like, and what do you do about it, and learning what you do about it. So I literally started to, in my career, embrace failure, because failure gives me the ability to learn and grow. So I never thought of it being failure. It's an opportunity for me to learn. So I get excited about the moments when those things happen. They, thankfully, as I continue to grow, less and less frequent. But the failure gave us the opportunity to learn, and it gave me the opportunity to take risks because I wasn't scared of it. So, and it's that play wrestling. It's like, in business, it's the ability to kind of think differently and not just be stuck into the status quo of things, because I'm okay with losing for that second, because it's not losing to me. It's that next stage to me winning.
Right. The approach to failure and just that whole mindset towards the sport and then to business. I remember I had a high school coach who was very good, but his whole thing was give up one, but not two. He was so afraid of getting reversed. Then as I spoke later in my career to different people, my assistant coach at Rutgers, Darren Schulman, two-time All-American, he was a hammer on top. Jake Pataxel from Purdue, he was a hammer on top. And I spoke to David Taylor about this. I said, what made you so effective on top? And they actually said the opposite of my high school coach. They said, I'm not afraid to get reversed. Jake Pataxel even said that he pinned himself by ripping the guy's arm on his roll through tilt, bringing his shoulder blade back to the mat. He said twice he pinned himself accidentally, but that's what made him so good on top, that he wasn't afraid to put it on the line and to fail. So that's huge. And then applying that to business is tremendous. We can go on about this for a while. So as we said before, we talked about how you started Wrestlers in Business. What was your inspiration? How did that get started?
Well, the inspiration started out of fear at first. So the Great Recession, 2008, 2009, I had started my business. I was 27 years old when I started my business in 2001, and it scaled fairly quickly for me. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. And making money, all this stuff. And then suddenly September 2008 happens, and like the world stops. And I provide talent to businesses. And so no one's wanting talent when that happened. Everybody was shedding talent.
Yeah.
So it was an incredibly scary experience. And I had an investor at the time, and I had told him that it was November. I remember having the conversation. I said, by July, I'm going to make money. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And it was all wrestling mindset that I was like, I'm going to figure this out. So as soon as I told him that, I went on this journey to figure out how I'm going to make money by July. So I had this fear and this determination. And one of the things that I had already discovered value in is this networking and finding my tribes, whether it was joining an entrepreneurs network that once you find your tribe and there's that connection point. So in that entrepreneurs organization that I joined in 2007, it was you had to be a business owner, you had to have $1 million of revenue, and so there was this immediate connection that people had to each other. So I'm sitting here, it's like February 2009, and I'm thinking, I've been disconnected from the sport of wrestling. It is absolutely embedded into everything that I think about. And I'm like, I don't have time to be in the sport at that moment, but like, is there any kind of like professional organization out there that takes this like connection that we have to wrestling and apply it to how we help each other in business or in our careers? And so I literally was on LinkedIn on a February 2009 at about 11 o'clock at night, realizing that there wasn't anything that was created. So I simply created the Wrestlers in Business Network as a group on LinkedIn. And I actually spent my evenings for the first couple of months finding people that had wrestling on their profiles and talking to them about this idea that can we bring ourselves together around the shared values that we have through the sport, but then help each other with careers, help each other with business opportunities, help each other ultimately, if we can create this powerful community, help the sport and advocate for the sport and for the growth of the sport. So those were like the three tenets that I had created this messaging around, and suddenly everybody was accepting. And I'll never forget this because I remember coming into my office. I remember exactly where I was sitting when I logged on my computer, and I saw like 10 or 15 people request to join in the Wrestlers in Business group. These weren't people I had known or even reached out to. Suddenly it started catching wind, and then I got asked to speak at the NCAA championships when I was in Philadelphia back in 2010, 2011. And then from there, we created a nonprofit. I ended up, getting together with John Licata at that time because he had a very similar idea in the DC area, and we just kind of partnered together to kind of really bring this to life. And it's been really exciting to see, so many people embrace the concept and idea of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when you look back, it's like, man, why didn't someone do this a while ago? But like you said, it's such an intuitive fit because we're in this wrestling community. It's just this band of brothers and sisters now too, that fraternity of athletes. We've thought about wrestling all the time. We've made all these connections, and now we're transitioning into the next stage of our life. Why not work together?
Right.
Perfect sense.
Right. And for those people that have really successfully transitioned themselves into their professional careers, they're usually doing it at a pretty high level. They're doing some really cool things. And those are the types of people that those are the people that I consider to be my tribe. I want those types of people around me because I do believe in the idea that iron sharpens iron. And when you have teamwork is actually one of our core values, and it's all under that concept. Like, surround yourself with the right people, and that's going to lift you up to reach whatever goal that you want to achieve for yourself. So I want to be surrounded with those types of people, and wrestlers tend to be those types of people for me.
Absolutely. And I'm real excited having this conversation with you because hopefully I wanted to get on the air live to all of our viewers that watch the show that wrestling mindset would not have gotten off the ground or definitely not have gotten legs as quickly without wrestlers in business. Because at the time, my brother, back in 2011, my brother was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. I was a school psychologist. I was working with athletes, wrestlers since 2008. But my brother met John Licata. He spoke about wrestlers in business to my brother. They connected him with Moyer. We spoke at the National Wrestling Coaches Convention. And that's really how we got our start in 2012 because of
That's
wrestlers
amazing.
in business. So it
That
was
is so
really
cool.
a great thing. Awesome. So we got to thank you big time, all of us, not just me, but everyone in our organization, as well as the tens and thousands of athletes that we've helped around the country. So big shout out to you guys and a thank you.
That actually is so cool. Like I did not know that, but that is exactly what this is all about. And like you just mentioned, the impact that can have on so many more people is just it gives me chills. Honestly, it's such a cool thing. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. It
I'm
happened.
I'm grateful.
It's great. It's just one of those things when you see the impact of your efforts on other people's lives and how it's got them started or helped take them to the next level. There's just nothing like it. And that's exactly why we do what we do. Both of us, I think.
Yeah, well, everything that for me has been grounded by a purpose statement that I have. It's motivating the world to realize its potential. And that's part of also the precipice of Wrestlers in Business, because I saw this opportunity where we can really drive the potential of these shared values in this fraternity of brothers and sisters that love the sport. And there's just so much potential that is truly still unlocked. It's untapped, and we can realize it, but we need to realize it together. And I think Wrestlers in Business is a platform that can really do that. So I'm excited to continue to see it evolve over the next several years into what I know it can be and what it will be.
Me too. Us too, as an organization. How can we help take it to the next level? What can we do? How do we get the word out? How do we send more people your way?
Well, I think one of the big pushes we have right now is really getting all the student athletes and the coaches really are the ones that are going to be those drivers to get connected to Wrestlers in Business Network, build a profile, go to wrestlersinbusiness.org and build a profile. And what we want to be ideally for those student athletes, because I think that's where it starts, is to be that connector of even if it's just internships, mentorships, or jobs, and then that really is the catalyst that I think starts that connection to them throughout their career. And then so I think that's the healthiest way. And even at the high school level, getting these kids introduced into this concept, because like we want to be like that sport that doesn't just end when you're done wrestling on the mat. It really lives with you throughout your entire life. It's a support system. It's an ecosystem. And the earlier that we can educate kids that this exists for you, I think the more that we're going to have parents want to get their kids into this sport, the more that the kids are going to want to wrestle in college, because there's a Wrestlers in Business chapter that's connected to that college that's working with the coaches on helping these kids find jobs. After school, that's what parents want. They want their kids to have a successful career. And what cooler way to do that is to see that there's already an ecosystem built out throughout the entire sport of wrestling that embraces that concept and actually has something to help them execute against that outcome. So that's really what we're looking for, and where anybody can help kind of spread the message around this would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got me excited. My wheels are spinning in my head, and then it's hard to get them to stop. But I was just thinking that, we worked with 250 teams during last year's wrestling season. There's no reason we shouldn't be putting Wrestlers in Business in front of them. Our mindset coaches, we have 60 mindset coaches across the country. So we could spread that out more horizontally and getting it in front of the coaches. And maybe this is more of a conversation for off the record, but let's definitely keep that going, because we're in front of a lot of coaches and athletes. Let's get the word out to them for sure.
Yeah, and people need to realize too, like Wrestlers in Business, it's not a for-profit business. Like we're not trying to make money. We're really just trying to get this platform to really be, to have every program connected to the platform and embrace it. It's not about, for us, it's never been about making money off of it. It's about making the connections that can make money for people. It's about making the connections to coaches so that they can find new people who might want to invest in their programs. There's just so many things that we can provide, but we want to really get this platform integrated into everything wrestling.
Yeah.
That's really the goal here. And then we help all the companies like your company, like that's helping wrestlers, helping athletes, helping companies like you connect into those, like you mentioned earlier, like just connecting, being a connector. Like the platform is what connects everything.
Right. That's great stuff. Great stuff. And as you said in the beginning of our conversation, you said you were a volunteer assistant coach at Aurora, and they used wrestling mindset. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I had Johnny Papish is the head coach at Aurora High School. We actually had just finished the season prior. We finished second in the state. We were trying to overtake St. Paris Graham. That's won it the last 17 or 18 years. And I remember him reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this wrestling mindset for the upcoming season. What do you think about it?" I'm like, "I think it's awesome." I've always been, when I became a volunteer coach 2 years ago, I helped Johnny in creating our mission statement for the program and our core values, but still having a support mechanism like your organization to really help instill the right mindset into these kids and how they think and prepare for their season, but also how they can look and take what they're learning and apply that to everything else they do outside of the sport, because that's really the true value that these kids have the opportunity to learn. And so I thought it was a great concept. Johnny was completely bought into it. Kids every week were working with the wrestling mindset coach that they were working with, and a lot of these kids totally embraced it. And I think found a lot of value in it. We were really coming together as a program. I thought we had a really good chance of winning the state title this year, but unfortunately, that got canceled on our way down to the tournament. But I've also seen Johnny. Like Johnny is just totally, like, I've seen him like really kind of up his game, because some of the principles he's learned. I would come into practice near the end of practice. He's like, he had these books that he was reading from the wrestling mindset, and he's like, "Hey, read this paragraph. This is awesome. Read this chapter." And like it was awesome stuff. Like, so I just think it's a great tool for wrestling programs to take advantage of.
That's great. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for everything that you do for the wrestling community and for wrestlers everywhere, everything you've done for us. Let's make sure we get the links of everywhere that you want us to send people for wrestlers in business. We'll put all the social media pages on the bottom of the YouTube page here.
Awesome. That would be great. We'll make sure that happens.
All right. Thanks a lot, Aaron. Let's keep in touch and let's keep growing this thing together.
Definitely. Let's go wrestling. Take care.
All right. We'll see you.
Awesome.